No, thank you. Sleepy. Can you come back in an hour? Need sleepy. Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the freezing cold Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Caligiuri. It's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning to everybody. Special shout out to all of our viewers on Fight TV. Don't forget to download the app so you can watch the show on your handheld. It's real easy. Just go to www.fight, that's FITE.TV/Billy C. Download the app for free right now. And not only enjoy our show, but other combat sports as well. Today's show, she's being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located in beautiful, or I should say on beautiful, St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Don't forget, if you're heading south, like I wish I was right now, it's literally a 15-minute out-your-way detour off of I-95. Trust me, it's well worth it. And they got clean bathrooms, so, take advantage of that. And it's even less than 15 minutes if you run a couple of red lights, but don't do that. Anyway, check out the website for the address, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by our post-fight show series. The first one airing next week for the Badeau Jack and James DeGalley fight. Don't forget to tune in right here on fight.tv or BillyCBoxing.com or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkinboxing. That's TALKINBOXING. Approximately 6 minutes after the official announcement is made. And we'll be talking. We'll be opening up the phone lines, getting your thoughts on the fight as well. This is one of the new things we're going to be doing in 2017. A hell of a lot more post-fight shows. And finally, today's show is being brought to you in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can literally get a copy of it right now by visiting BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board, which I'm pretty proud of. And if you want a signed copy, a lot of people like a signed copy, well then just go to the website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book club section. Today is Fan Driven Friday, so we're going to open up the phone lines a little bit later. But I got a couple of news things to talk about. And first and foremost, and I got an email or two to read. First and foremost, my main topic today is, or one of the main topics today, is Canelo Alvarez, Saul Canelo Alvarez. I mean, this is a guy, in my opinion, who was on his way up, shooting up the ladder, stardom, if you will, and was a guy that I really admired. You know, I thought that he was going to change my outlook on today's fighter and the mentality of today's fighter. He seemed to be willing to fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. He seemed to carry the Mexican fighter, pedigree or how people look at Mexican fighters, and he was proud of that, and he wanted to prove that they will fight anyone at any time and take no prisoners. But along the way, Saul Canelo Alvarez has turned into, a diva. He clearly has ducked Triple G, making claims that he couldn't make weight. Then the latest was that he was negotiating, or according to many sources, still negotiating with a Cinco de Mayo matchup with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., at a so-called catch weight, another thing that Saul Canelo Alvarez has been using frequently, at 165 pounds. And it was reported from several sources that the talks, although they technically are still going on, they've kind of reached an impasse. And the main reason, according to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., is some of the demands that Canelo Alvarez is making. like outrageous purse demands, 5 times what he normally makes. Every single bargaining position in his favor, and it just, to me, it just changes my outlook on Canelo Alvarez. And I have to ask the question: is he really that big of a star that he thinks he is? Is he that big? I think he's dropped off. I don't think people, at least here in the States, give a rat's ass about Saul Canelo Alvarez. I think a lot of people were turned off by him ducking Triple G, clearly ducking Triple G. And now he's making it hard to make a fight with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., which would be a draw, especially on Cinco de Mayo. Joining me right now with his thoughts is New Jersey Boxing Hall of Famer. He has a Guinness Book of World Record. He makes one of the best pizzas in the world. He's my main man. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, please welcome Sal Rocky Senaka. What's up, Sal?
Good morning, Billy C. And how are you this great Friday?
I'm pretty good. I'm a little jacked up. I'm a little jacked up with some of the stuff.
And I'm ready to join you in that pool, man.
What do you think? I know you kind of feel I probably stole some words right out your mouth because I thought that I know for a fact. It's not that I thought. I know for a fact that you were a big fan of Canelo Alvarez and with the whole Triple G fiasco, you kind of fell off a little bit. And now with the diva-isms, what's your thoughts, man?
You, John, Carl King, myself, we watched that fight and we commentated and did a post-fight when Canelo Alvarez fought Floyd Mayweather. In fact, it was with us down there, and we watched it. And I instantly said, wow, this guy is going to be a superstar. This guy is great. This guy has so much potential. He's going to be a world beater one day. And, it didn't take long after that moment and the antics or the demands that I started seeing some chinks in the armor or flaws here. And I'll tell you, he continues to disappoint me in some levels. And yes, he could fight. Yes, he's got talent. Yes, he could do a lot of things out there for boxing, but he's not that superstar that I thought he would blossom into being, because he's like a lot of these other fighters. They want to pound their chest. They want to say, I'm the baddest man on the planet. And guess what? When it comes to sign and get in the ring, they have all these other concessions, conditions, and variables and antics that they want to make in their favor, and it's not going to happen. So yeah, he definitely is not, in my opinion, that big man on that big world stage that I thought he would blossom to be. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, according to Julio Cesar Chavez's camp, Canelo wants 6 times the amount that Chavez camp is agreeing to fight for. 6 times.
6 times. Maybe 5, but not.
I don't even know about 5.
No, I'm teasing. Why even double? That goes to say, Bill, I'll tell you, you want to see this fight game get back on track. You have the winner of the fight get a set purse and the loser get the second purse. Let's get a tier. It'll never happen. But this is called prize fighting. What are you fighting for? You're fighting for a prize. If you could fight for a prize of $10 million, winner gets that, the loser gets $4 million. Hey, guess what? You got to do your best to fight and have the incentive and go get that big prize.
I agree with that. I think
it'd be great. It's a prize fight. The winner should get the prize.
I think that purses should be structured like that. That the winner does get a substantially more money. But the argument will be, which side is the draw? You see, because today's matchups, generally there's an A side and a B side, regardless of the level of fight. And I'll give you another example. Adrian Broner. You and I have been talking about, we got so much, a positive outlook for 2017. Maybe boxing's making that corner. I start looking at some fights that have been announced that are going to be taking place in the first quarter of 2017. And to me, it's going the other way, bro, because look, Adrian Broner, he's had his ups and downs. At one point, I thought he was an extremely talented fighter in the lightweight division. Since he's moved up in weight, He believed his own press clippings. Everybody knows all the trouble he's been in. Well, his next fight was announced. It's taking place on February 18th against Adrian Granados. Now, no disrespect to Granados, but this isn't the level of fighter that I would expect to see Adrian Broner fight against. I would expect Adrian Broner to be fighting, a top guy. Again, no disrespect to Granados, but 18, and I shouldn't even be doing this because this goes against my own thing. But 18 wins, 4 losses, and a couple of draws. So he's got 24 fights total under his pro career. Broner, 32-2 with 24 knockouts. He's got the same amount of knockouts as Granados has in fights, and Granados hasn't looked anywhere near A-level fighter in his last several fights. I think this is kind of a BS fight. And the co-main event looks like it's going to be Gary Russell Jr. against Oscar Escandon, who they'll be fighting for Russell's newly acquired WBC title, and Oscar Escandon is the interim champion. So, I mean, you could make the argument that Russell is being forced to fight him, but I'm not too impressed with the Broner-Granados fight. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not impressed with that fight either. Like you said, if Adrian Broner, he's been on the world stage. He's a good fighter, great fighter, and on a lot of levels. And you want to see him paired against another top draw, top name, and top contender, and not taken away from the other fighter. But like you said, he's you want to see the best fight the best. That's what we need to see. That's what boxing needs to produce for the year 2017. We've got to see some top competitors get in the ring.
Well, what I'd like to see is the top names fighting top opponents. I mean, yes. I think you can't. I mean, from a realistic standpoint, we can't expect knockout, drag out, A-level fights every time we turn on the tube or so we understand, and I know you understand, and I understand, and hopefully most of the fans understand that fighters have to, increase their level of opposition as they're going up. But once they get to that level, that A level, if you will, I don't want to see them fighting C-level guys, and Adrian Broner, who's, an A-level fighter, at least in his own mind and the way the promoters, make him out to be. Granados is just not an A-level opponent, and Gary Russell, whether you could say, he's being forced into fighting the interim champ or not in Oscar Escandon. Again, everybody's waiting to see Gary Russell Jr. really get that signature fight against a top guy, which he's yet to do, But, hey, it even gets worse because the WBA, one of these organizations that 2 years ago swore that they were going to clean up their own title pictures by eliminating several of the belts that they have in the same divisions. Well, how do you do that when you order a fight which they're still having as their regular heavyweight championship as opposed to their super heavyweight championship? And the two guys that they're putting against each other is Shannon Briggs, who's as old as you and me, and who hasn't fought anybody of note in years, okay, against a guy who's only fought a couple of times in years and has never won a significant fight in Fresequendo. Those are the two guys that the WBA is having fight each other for their vacant regular WBA title. I mean, it just seems like we're going down the same path.
Bill, you're gonna get me so upset. I'm gonna start making my plans to make a comeback again, man.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
You want to be my manager?
Hey, I tell you another thing, Rock.
Be my manager.
I'll tell you another thing. Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, a guy that I thought for sure was going to fight Mayweather, and in my opinion, the only fight that really matters for both of these guys, Floyd Mayweather, if he wants to get his 50th win, or Manny Pacquiao, if he wants to continue fighting, should fight each other. There's not another fighter that either one of these guys could fight that I'd be interested in. Manny Pacquiao is in serious negotiations to fight Jeff Horn. Horn, no disrespect to him, is a talented young fighter, but what does that do for Manny Pacquiao? At one point, Manny Pacquiao is just not going to be Manny Pacquiao in the ring, and he's going to lose to a young gun. I give him credit for fighting a young gun, but what has he got left to prove? There's no reason for him to fight a guy like that.
No, there's not. We said it the night of that fight we watched with Mayweather and Pacquiao, and we also say it all along here, and we've said it many times. The only fight that makes sense is for Manny Pacquiao to fight Floyd Mayweather. This guy's climbed to the mountain. He's been up there. He's come back. And you know what? Unless he wants to pass the baton to a younger buck that's coming up, there's no need. The guy has his wealth. He has his fame. He has popularity. If this is a fight of vengeance, if you will, a fight of reclaiming and going out on top as number one or doing this or being a world beater, the only fight that makes sense is to him to have the rematch with Floyd Mayweather. And that's the only fight that Floyd should come out for, too. It's a perfect match. And it's a fight that I said I would never pay for because I still think Floyd Mayweather will beat Manny Pacquiao.
Well, Coach has a prediction. He's been right in the past, and his prediction.
Coach is a smart man.
Is Floyd's going to fight Miguel Cotto? Should Miguel Cotto get by his next fight? Which I'm not interested in seeing that fight. Hey, I wonder how that fight could ever be signed? Both of them are such prima donnas. But one last thing I wanted to mention, and then we got an email I'm going to read, and then we're going to do some other stuff. But Chocolito Gonzalez, a guy that.
Great fighter.
Right. I was just going to say, both of us think of him as a pound-for-pound fighter, if not the number one pound-for-pound fighter right now.
I agree.
It's a shame. He's going to be fighting his next fight is going to be against the WBC's ranked number one contender Suriskat Sal Visali, which I know I just destroyed the guy's name. But here's the sad part. Not that he's fighting that guy, because Chocolito, if you look at his resume, he's fought, top guys. I mean, for the last several years, maybe not known guys, but they were all tops in the divisions that he fought. But what bothers me about this is, despite Gonzalez's talent, Sal, they're still up in the air on which fight card he's going to fight, and he's not even going to be the main event. And what bothers me about this is that, the fans aren't giving this guy enough drawing power where he should be showcased as a main event. They're talking about him fighting on the undercard on February 25th or in March. The February 25th card is the one that Miguel Cotto's fighting, and the March 4th card, which happens to be a really good fight, puts Danny Garcia against Keith Thurman. So, yes, he's going to be fighting on a big stage, but not as the main event. And I find that bothersome because I believe that this guy should already have the recognition that we give him by everybody else. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right on. I mean, this guy is not only a world-class fighter, but as you said, he's debatably one of the best pound-for-pound fighters out there today. And he's fantastic. He's exciting. His fights are a big draw, and I think he should be a main event fighter. And that's how you promote him. And you just give him that opportunity. He shouldn't be he's not even a co-feature on this one, huh?
No, he would be the
co-feature.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, this guy should be a main event fighter, and he should have the draw, and he should be promoted as such. And it's a shame, whether he can have the ability to get that top billing very soon this year and blossom out and be the top draw. It's all up to his promotional outfit and everything else. But in my opinion, this guy's one of the greatest fighters in the world today.
Well, the problem is that a lot of the fans that are coming to this sport aren't knowledgeable enough about the sport, in my opinion. No disrespect to them. I just think that they drink the Kool-Aid that is thrown out there. They're very believing, naive, if I want to stretch it that far. But before I get myself in too much trouble, let's read an email. This one's from our man Joel, and Joel says, with Deontay Wilder always calling out. First of all, he says, "Happy and healthy New Year to myself and you, Sal." So
thank you, Joel.
We
Same
know
to you.
We know Joel is always a good guy, especially to us, and we appreciate that. But he says, with Deontay Wilder always calling out the Anthony Joshuas and Klitschko's of the world, what are you and Sal's thoughts on the interesting direction he took for his next opponent next month in Andres Warisak? While Walsack is a decent heavyweight, he got destroyed a few years ago by Alexander Povetkin. So my question to you guys is this: will Wilder ever fight the guys that he keeps calling out, or will he continue to fight the Areolas and the Warzaks of the world for the rest of his career? I think this an easy. I think it's an easy answer for me.
Yeah.
My answer to this is he's going to continue fighting the C-level heavyweights and pounding his chest that he's the best. This is a guy that means well, but is just afraid to fight the top guys. This is a guy that should be gunning for the Anthony Joshuas and making those fights happen. He should be gunning for the top guys. I think that Deontay Wilder, in choosing the level of opposition that he has for his entire career, is a joke. And I think that people that actually put Deontay Wilder at the top don't know boxing, as Floyd Mayweather Sr. would say. And you can't judge the quality of a fighter by him destroying lower level fighters on a consistent basis. At some point in time, he has to step up his level of opposition and fight a real fight. What do you think?
So eloquently said, and that's exactly right. I try to stick up for Deontay Wilder where I can because, he does get in the ring, he does do a good job, but the level of competition and opposition has not been that top tier, that world class, that one that we all want to see him fight. So, again, we have a dilemma here. Is he fighting the world class, best on the stage fighters? No, he is not. So how could he continue to be promoted as one of the best and a champion out there? No, let him get in the ring with an Anthony Joshua and see what happens. And I think after this next fight with Anthony Joshua that he takes place, no matter win, lose, or draw, I think there's going to be a big fight after that. Hopefully that Deontay Wilder will step up and get in the ring and show us and show the world what he's made of.
Well, two guys that I had referred to as frauds, Deontay Wilder and Daniel Jacobs. One of them, Daniel Jacobs, at least has stepped up to the plate and has signed the contract and is scheduled to fight. In my opinion, the best guy in the middleweight division. So kudos to Daniel Jacobs. Now it's up to Deontay Wilder to do the same. While Deontay Wilder is picking guys like Chris Areola and Johan Duhaupas and Eric Molina and now Andres Warzak, Anthony Joshua goes after Klitschko, a guy that dominated the division for 10 years. So, if anybody still thinks that Deontay Wilder is as good as he says he is, you don't know boxing. But
Forget about it.
Hey, Sal, I heard you had a sweet tooth recently.
Oh, let me tell you, Billy C., what happened. First of all, you called me the other night, and it was a great call. And I was down in St. Augustine visiting my girlfriend, and Kayla made me the most delicious bowl of Italian wedding soup, which I made it a meal. It was fantastic. And then you called, and you gave me a hint that maybe I should go check my mailbox, and if I didn't receive something. I said, Billy,
Wait. You mean you don't check your mailbox every day like I do?
Oh, maybe I should start to.
I think that might be a good idea. But go ahead.
I get so many items in that mailbox, magazines, promotional items, this and that.
Any arrest warrants, Sal? Any arrest warrants from previous things you've done in New Jersey?
That's why I don't go out there. So usually when I go to the mailbox, I take a box with me because there's a a whole gathering, if you will, of mail. In fact, I think the mailbox tipped over one time, and and I emptied out in this box and I go through it. So, being a little apathetic, I have not been to my mailbox in a long time. And you were so kind to call me and let me know that it might be a good idea to go to my mailbox, and I might have something in there that's very special. And sure enough, I went to the mailbox and I saw this nice little brown envelope, and I opened it up, and lo and behold, it was a great little Christmas card greeting from our friend Brett up in Canada and his family. And I thank him so much, because along with that nice Christmas card was a beautiful sampling of that fantastic chocolate that I know you love.
Yeah.
And man, I'll tell you what, I opened that up in the restaurant last night at 10:30, and man, I ate it. I couldn't stop eating it. It was fantastic. And I don't even like chocolate, but I love this. So now I like chocolate.
I'm a chocolate fiend, and let me tell you.
I know. Hey, Brett, I want to thank you so much. and I no wonder. I mean, I don't know how long ago it arrived, but man, I'll tell you what, it didn't last more than maybe 30 seconds.
I tell you, that chocolate that Brett and his beautiful wife Melinda sends is some good shit, isn't it?
It's fantastic, and I'll tell you what, and just the thought, the effort, and the acknowledgement. Brett, I really sincerely thank you so much for that. It was a very, very much a welcome gift and present, and your card was great, and I thank you so much for actually mailing that out and taking the time. And it's nice to know that I'm on that level, and we consider you one of our dear friends here. And I thank you so much for giving me that same feeling back. So
Brett and his family are class acts. I still can't get over that. His oldest son is as old as that he is. He sent an email that time, but it's good. He's a great human being, great family, and we love you, Brett. But
and he's from Canada, eh?
Yeah, But hey, see, not good things come from Canada, despite some of the things that people think sometimes, But anyway, we're going to open up the phone lines here in a second, Sal. But first, joining us right now is my main man, Dax Khan, and he's got some thoughts on boxing in 2017. What's up, Dax?
Good morning, Dax. Doing? Hey, Sal. How's everybody's New Year so far?
Great so far. I'll tell you what. We are in the 6th day, and yesterday I didn't let it be known to too many people, but it was the 5th of January, and the 5th of January signified my 8th anniversary of being in business at Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria, because if you look on the old, I call it my calendar, 2009, we opened up for the first day of business on a Monday. It was January the 5th, 2009. That was our first day of business. So we celebrated our 8th anniversary yesterday.
Oh, congratulations.
Hey, congratulations.
How cold is it by you, Dax? It's freezing up here.
It got cold last night. I mean, yesterday wasn't too bad. I knew this morning, before I even looked out the window or turned on the TV, that it was cold, because I just feel that chill in the air. We got a dust and the snow. Not too bad. This so far, New Year's has been interesting for me. Let me tell you. On Tuesday, I go to the bank real quick, and since really that was everybody's Monday, because most places were closed on Monday, the ATM's backed out. So I run over to the store, I get a coffee, I come back, and these two guys come running out of the bank like madmen. I'm like, what the hell are they doing?
Did they have masks?
The bank gets robbed.
What did they? I was just going to say, did they have masks? They robbed the bank?
Yeah, they robbed the bank. I'm stuck there all day giving statements and testimony. FBI comes. I'm like, son of a gun, what the hell? And then 2 days later, yesterday, this happens to me. I stop at a little quick check place to get a cup of coffee. Everything's fine. I'm going, come out, and all of a sudden I hear this big loud bang, and I get in my car. I drive a quarter mile up the road, and there's 2 cars flipped over. So I'm like, this has been some week.
Jeez. Hey, I'll give you some advice, Sal. Stay away from Dax, man. He's dangerous. You don't even want to hang with the guy. He's dangerous, man. He's promoting bank robberies and car accidents. Not that he's promoting them, but he's close to them.
It's this area where I'm in. It's really going downhill these last couple of years because the police just aren't doing their job on just patrolling. If they just did some patrols, it would change a lot of things. The good thing is this year, on January 2nd, I actually became the father of my youngest son. Became a teenager, so. I don't know. It's a gift to me, but I'm in for some tough times. In another month or so, I'll be looking older than Billy.
Yeah, I don't, I don't know. Yeah, you are in for some tough times, but enjoy the ride. Put the seatbelt on, brother, and enjoy the ride.
He's a good boy. I couldn't ask for a better son. So here we are now, 2017. We got some good things coming up. We also got a lot of the same old that needs to change quickly if this is going to be a successful year, huh?
Yeah, before you give us your thoughts real quick, what's your thoughts on Canelo? One of my main topics today is maybe Canelo's not as big of a star here in the States as he thinks he is. He's acting, we always refer to Andre Ward and Miguel Cotto as the two biggest divas in boxing. You think Canelo's trying to get up there in the top three or what?
Canelo definitely has more drawing power. That's not a question. What's questionable is where does this kid want to be looked at in another 10 years? Boxing, your careers have a short window. By the time he's 35, if that long, he's going to want to retire. He already has boatloads of money, and he is allowing the people around him to talk him into having this type of attitude. I actually believe that this kid wants to go out there and do, as he stated, what the other Mexican greats have done, but, the Oscar De La Hoya and those in his circle, they see the cash signs, and that's what's going on with this kid, and it's going downhill, and it's hurting him. Right now, Andre Ward, talk about a diva, this is a guy here who is doing that same old. This was a great time. He finally comes back. He gets a huge win. He wins a unified title in the second division. Now he's talking retirement. This is a guy right here, in my opinion, he's insecure. This is an insecure person, the way I look at it in terms of, I'm not a big star like I think I am, so I have to do whatever I can to make people talk.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that I don't know, man. I don't think that he should be doing anything. I think that the whole Triple G dodging and avoidance pretty much tells us what we got with him at this point. But
spent too much time behind an announce table. No more. At one point in time, Bill, we spoke about it on the show many times. Andre Ward appeared to be on his way to becoming the sport's next superstar. For that short time between 2009 2013, he was beating opponents just as convincingly, if not more convincingly, than Floyd Mayweather was, who was on top of the sport at the time. Andre was, humble outside the ring. He did his talking in the ring. He was the anti-Mayweather, and then all of a sudden, he just totally changed. So, that's a guy right there who, he's committing career suicide in terms of marketability. But, here we are now. We're on to 2017, and there's a few things that if we want this to be a better year, what boxing really needs to do.
What? Tell me. What's the secret?
First thing, fights. They got to stop being dangled. These build-ups of fights, time and time again, for postponements of fights, time and again, need to stop. If a fight doesn't take place after one postponement, two postponements, as long as there's a legitimate injury in there, these sanctioning bodies and promoters need to say, you know what, we got to move on, and we got to keep things going because the fans are getting tired, they're getting bored, they have to stop at the pay-per-views. Fans are showing. They're not so vocal as, as maybe in terms of what you would picture vocal being, but the pay-per-view numbers, the biggest pay-per-views of last year, they sold well under 200,000. So that's saying fans are getting tired of it. We need to clean up and openly declare. We need to clean up these divisions. These promoters and the sanctioning bodies have to declare a pecking order. You have to find yourself who the best man in the division is and then establish a top 10, just like it used to be. This helps the fans keep track. This helps everybody know who the real star is. This also would cut down on these negotiations, the delay of fights, because the guy on top is the guy with all the bargaining power. And again, if you don't fight, you get stripped. The WBC, love them or hate them, they did a phenomenal job in 2016 with their clean boxing program. They have started going after guys, saying, you know what, if you're not registered, you're not going to be in our rankings. The WBA, they hint that they want to do something better. They said they want to clean their titles up, but they're not going to do it. So what happens here is the WBC is once again showing they are the dominant belt, the dominant sanctioning body in the sport, and the public needs educated. The networks, the broadcasters, they have to stop continuously just building up the A side. These fans out here are starting to buy more and more of poor quality product because despite what people think, the majority fan listens and goes by what the promoters and what the announcers say. They depend on it for their information, and it's bringing the sport down. And last but not least, businessmen need to start conducting business like businessmen. Boxing, first and foremost, is a business. If you produce a quality product, it sells itself. If you can't produce a new product, build a better mousetrap. Again, no more extended hype, extended build-ups, no more of Max Kellerman's terms of seethe at the thought of a possible match. Make the quality fights. The fans will know what they want to see. The fans are going to appreciate it. The fans will make this sport fall in line. They are going to decide who is the best, who isn't. Times are changing. We need guys that are hungry. There's only a few guys in this sport that are hungry, and as you and Sal were talking about before, it's because of these pay scales. If guys had to fight harder to get that paycheck, they'd be more hungry. It's hard to be hungry when you're sitting at a table full of filet mignon, when just the other day you were eating the TV dinner. That is the problem with boxing. So this is what needs to happen, in my opinion, for 2017. At least start to happen in 2017. And maybe by 2020, boxing might just be where it used to be back in 1980.
I'm telling you, you get an organization out there, one of these world sanctioning bodies, that try to recognize their champions, and they want the biggest purse to go to the winner, unannounced. Let's see these guys fight for that filet mignon instead of sitting for a TV dinner. I'm telling you, they'll come in shape, they'll come in ready to fight, and they'll want to be the best fighter in that ring that night. And that's boxing. That's why they call it prize fighting. You got to win the prize.
No doubt about that.
Where is the desire for, it's hard to desire greatness when you have that much money sitting in front of you.
If I sign a fight for $10 million or $1 million, and I have the opportunity to either get $10 million or $1 million, I'm going to tell you something right now. Who's getting to get in that ring wanting to fight for that $10 million?
Exactly. Boxing has always been known as a means to an end. This is what guys did when there was nothing else out there.
Right.
Whether they were skilled or not, they went out and they fought to feed their family. You know what? It's a brutal sport, Sal. You know that firsthand. So why am I going to continuously go out there and brutalize myself, shorten the quality of my lifespan when I'm already a multi-millionaire? I never have to work a day again. My kids never have to work a day again. My mother and my father never have to worry about money again. So here I am, 15 fights into my career. It's time for me to take a break, put it on cruise control, and I'm still going to collect money for putting in 30% the effort.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. I think the structure of the purses and other things and other variables should be really taken into place. And you get a world sanctioning body organization that's willing to put a lot of risk on the line as far as going against the grain, if you will, and looking at the old structure of what boxing was all about and how it went. I'd say Billy and I talk about this all the time. Bring back 15 rounds, bring back this, bring back that, and let these fighters do what they can to prove that they are the best in the world. And let the best man win. And to get the best man, get the best purse.
And I said, Bill, Sal, is it just me, or do you shake your head when you see last year we lost a lot of great guys, and every time one of these legendary fighters passed away, there was another young fighter coming in there saying, I'm dedicating this fight to so-and-so. But you know what? They never gave that fighter type effort. I never seen anybody come out there like an Aaron Pryor. Certainly nobody came out there showing the heart of a Muhammad Ali. Nobody came out there with the heart of a Bobby Chacon. So you know, is it just the whole mentality, or is it that these guys aren't educated on the past? That is one thing about Mike Tyson I always respected, that, you know, as a young kid, Customato sat him down and educated him about the history of the sport. Do these guys today even know about the history of the sport?
You know, that's a great question. And I'm going to tell you something right now. As I was evolving and wanting to decide to be a fighter, I read the ring books. I read the small evolution of how the bare knucklers came about, the James J. Corbett, the Bob Fitzsimmons, the John L. Sullivans, and how it evolved to the glove matches early on. So there was a pride, there was a history, and there was an evolution that boxing was growing and going through. And the best thing that I could take from the game is you had to prepare your body, your mind, your heart, and soul to get in the ring with another opponent, another guy, and the best man won. And the best man got the biggest purse, and the best man went on to fame and fortune. And, you know, that's the education of what boxing was all about. How to feed your family, how to get out of poverty, how to do things. I mean, that's how, when you look back 100 years ago, when all the waves of immigrants were coming over here, including my family from Italy, they came over. They saw signs up there. They couldn't get jobs. They couldn't speak English, and they saw just signs that said, "Hey, $5 purse, come fight." Da 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 da. And they got off the boat and they went in. They said, "Hey, I'm going to earn $5 and I'm going to go fight." And then some of them lasted, and some of them went on to be champions, and their purses got bigger. But that's what they saw, the opportunity to better their lives, feed their families, and without any of the politics or bull. And that's what they did. That's the education. That's the evolution of fighting.
One of the most beautiful things that I loved about Bill's book on Tom Molyneux.
Yes.
And I mentioned in the epilogue when Bill asked me if I would write that, is today, in my mindset, you know, today we see, as we speak about guys with the purses and the topic that we're on, they know how to go about trying to get themselves more money. And that's great. Fighters, you know what? You're putting everything on the line. Make as much money as you possibly can. But on the other hand, just like we've seen happen with, not, you know, seen, but we know what happened with Tom Molyneux. He was hungry. He fought himself out of being a slave. He made himself over to England. Made his way over to England, where, you know, boxing was huge then, and he made a name for himself. He made some money, and the same things happened then that still happen now, where guys are taken advantage of, except, again, the money part is totally different. But on the other hand, and why I say, do guys, these young guys today, do they look at the history? Look how Tom Molyneux's ending was. Broke, alone, with nobody around him, and these guys today, they seem to be following the same path. Adrian Broner was mentioned before. This is a kid who, you know, took the boxing world by storm. He was a guy who was on a fast track to being the next big, huge superstar. Look what he's doing with himself right now. These guys are just, it's frustrating. Maybe the older I get, it becomes more frustrating, especially as a parent, when you're saying to yourself, you know, son, pay attention to what I'm saying to you. You know, don't do this because this is how it's going to happen. I just don't understand how come these young guys today are not utilizing this history to make themselves a more complete fighter, not only in the ring, but their career outside the ring once that time is over.
It's true.
I'm ready to throw up with the chat room conversation going on in here. You know, and it's ready. It's the problem with the sport, man. I mean, if you go in and read the communication here in the chat room on BillyCBoxing.com, you'll see what the problem with this sport is. It's right there. It's right there. You got non-knowledgeable fans, and they believe the bullshit that's shoved down their friggin' throats by the media, the fight teams, all this stuff. You know, I mean, listen, let's talk about weight issues for a second here. I know we're jumping off the topic, but, you know, the bottom line is what's hurt boxing, I think, is that fighters really don't fight in their weight classes anymore. You know, you got certain bodies that can, dehydrate themselves and come down 10 or more pounds for a weigh-in and then hydrate on the fight night, and they end up fighting 2 weight classes or more above what the contracted fight is. If you take a look at some of these fighters, I mean, it becomes a dangerous issue, not only for the fighter that's losing the weight, but for the opponent. And then when you add in the fact that most of these so-called top fighters are actually picking smaller guys to begin with, they're giving themselves a couple of weight class advantage. To me, that's not boxing. Listen, boxing should be, like you were saying earlier, Sal, it's a prize fight. The guy who wins should make a substantially amount of more money, et cetera, et cetera. But on the other hand, they should also be fighting guys their own size. When you're matching fighters that have fighter A or a level A ability in weight class of 160 pounds, and they're constantly fighting guys of an ability level of C plus at max, and their normal weight is 147 pounds, and they're making them come up. I mean, what kind of competition is that? This is why this sport has sunken so low. When you got fans that actually support this bullshit, this is why the sport is heading in the direction that it is. Let's be real. No, but let's be real. The reason why it's heading in a downward motion is because the fans are buying into this shit. They're not only buying into it, they believe it and they stick up for it. If you go in the chat room, just read some of the bullshit that one of these guys are listing in there. It's sickening. It really is. It makes me not even want to do the show.
Everybody is sold on the O. No. I tell people all the time who argue about, he's so good because of the O. Eventually we'll get into that segment, Bill, that me and you have been discussing coming up. I think that will help educate fans, and I think a lot of people make fools out of themselves without saying. But, I talk about guys, I say, something, there are guys out there who have 40, 50, even 60 losses. Believe it or not, in some countries, and these guys work full-time jobs, they take fights in 24 hours notice, but out of these 60 fights, you know what? They've been stopped 2 times. Why? Because, as you always talk about, it's actually a craft for them. They know what to do in that ring, and they're professional opponents, and sometimes those guys are the most skilled of them all. And you know what? They make a decent living. They used to back in the days. But there's more to it than just the O. When you can go inside that ring and you can compete with anybody and you can stand there and walk away at the end of the night still with all your faculties and bearings, minus maybe a scratch or a swollen eye or something like that. That's what boxing is. It's a craft, and there's not enough of the craft anymore, not even by the top-level guys. There's only a handful. Boxing is more of a show, and you need to be able to incorporate the show with the talent, or else what you have is professional wrestling without the predicted outcome.
And, those are good points, Dax. And Bill, you're talking about some great things as well, and you know how I feel about these weight classes. And, starting out with the amateurs, I remember going to the Golden Gloves and fighting, or the amateur fights. We stepped on a scale to weigh in just hours before we were going to box. And then even with the pros, we would weigh in when I started fighting professionally. The morning of that fight, either 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, we would step in. And if we had to make lightweight, guess what? I came down from 165 pounds, and I would weigh 135 as a lightweight. And I only had a few short hours to replenish with a bottle of Gatorade, eating a banana. And by the time I got in the ring, I always liked to go in the ring hungry and light. I'd only be 135, 136 pounds. Versus weighing the day before when you can come in the ring at 150 pounds. And it doesn't make sense. And it's always the safety police out there. Oh, we got to do this, we got to do that to make it better. Get the heck out of here. Make boxing what it used to be, and get the safety police out of here. I can understand. Go back to 15 rounds. Go back to the same day weigh-ins. You want to see some of these weight issues, take care of it? And the heck with these catch weights. You either fight as a middleweight or a junior middleweight or whatever the heck you want to do.
That's the key.
You can be the champion.
That's the key. You fight
not a
if you're gonna fight. No, the key is if you're gonna fight in the middleweight division, the middleweight division, 160 pounds. If you're gonna fight at the welterweight division, 147 pounds. There should be no such thing as a catch weight. If a guy wants to fight, if a middleweight wants to fight a super middleweight, okay, and a middleweight wants to go in and weigh 160 pounds, and he wants to challenge a super middleweight with a weight limit of 168, that's his choice to come in at 160. It's his choice. You know, there's no reason why the guy that's 160 wants to fight a guy at 168, so let's meet halfway in the middle and fight at 165. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. If you're gonna move up to challenge somebody at a higher weight class, it's your prerogative of what you want to weigh. I'm sorry.
Hey, Billy, you think Billy Khan would have said to Joe Louis, Joe, could we fight at a catch weight of maybe 170 pounds? Get out of here. Billy Khan stepped up and he fought Joe Louis for the heavyweight championship of the world, and he almost beat him. But that's what you do. You have weight classes. That's why they're weight classes. They're set. You fight in one weight class. Get your body into one weight class and fight and be the best you can be at that weight class.
What about Langford and McVeigh?
Yeah.
No, you can go. Listen, you could go throughout the whole course of boxing history, and every time you'll see. What about Stanley Ketchel and Jack Johnson? My main man, Jack Johnson,
and Emil Griffith.
You know, I mean, come on, Emil Griffith, of course. You know, I mean, these guys always went up. You know, I mean, I get it now. You know, it's more of a safety issue today. A lot of commissions won't approve more than a 6-pound weight swing between two fighters, regardless of the division. I witnessed at an event that I was involved with in a heavyweight fight where one fighter weighed 201 pounds, which is a heavyweight, okay? And his opponent was 239 pounds, and the commission wouldn't allow it because there was too much of a weight disparity between the two fighters. And technically, that was a BS call by the commission because, you know, the weight limit is limitless in heavyweight. You know, you have to be at least, you don't. The weight limit of the cruiserweight division is 199. If a guy wants to challenge a heavyweight and he weighs 170 pounds, so be it. You know, I mean, come on. I don't know.
It'll either be a short fight or he'll step up and show the world what he can do.
You know, I'm just, the problem we have today, really, I mean, whether you're a fan of a fighter or not, is the fact that the boxing fans, accept what is being doled out to us right now. And once they accept that, they're going to keep getting fed that crap until they finally say no mas. And until that happens, this is what we get. If there's fans out there willing to pay for these mismatches, to see the Adrian Broner against Granados type fights, or Gary Russell against Oscar Escandon, which is different because, you know, at least Escandon's got some kind of title. Or better yet, the WBA ordering Shannon Briggs against Freza Cuendo for a world title. I mean, come on. If fans are willing to accept this, and when I love the disses on Triple G, because every single person that disses Triple G is always like, they say the same thing. Oh, Triple G hasn't fought anybody. Has anybody that says Triple G hasn't fought a real fighter, has anyone ever really thought for a minute that no friggin' fighter in the weight class that Triple G is wants any part of Triple G? There's only two guys that have outwardly challenged Triple G, Willie Monroe Jr. and Kell Brook. Those are the only two guys that challenged Triple G. What's that?
David Lemieux called Triple G.
That's right. And Lemieux,
the first name he mentioned.
You're right. And the truth of the matter is, you know, most guys don't want any part. You mention Triple G, and all of a sudden you hear crickets. All right. So how do you blame that on Triple G? I'm sorry, you can't. But yet you're going to accept Floyd Mayweather fighting Andre Bird? I mean, come on. You know, please, you know, Floyd's a different kid.
When you go behind the numbers, believe me, Triple G's resume is better than what's implied. It's just another case of fans not understanding what's behind the numbers.
It's the same thing
with... There's a big difference between winning a fight in the ring and
Well,
actually winning a fight. That's another example.
It's the same thing with Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder discussions. People actually try to make a case that Deontay Wilder has fought the better opposition than Anthony Joshua, which is total BS. All you got to do is look inside the numbers, like you just said. And as far as Floyd, I would just want to finish my thought, because Floyd Mayweather is the exception to the rule. Floyd Mayweather, just like we've said many times, and I'll admit I'm not a Floyd Mayweather fan, and the reason is because mostly of his antics outside the ring, but I don't like his style of running away and staying far away from his opponent. But even with my opinion of that, I give Floyd the pass because he's been there. This is a guy that's dominated. This is a guy that paid his dues. He was, marvelous at marketing himself, et cetera, et cetera. So he gets the pass. But you can't all of a sudden take that blueprint a la Saul Canelo Alvarez and start saying, well, I want to be the next Floyd Mayweather. Canelo hasn't proven that he's a Floyd Mayweather. He hasn't. He hasn't really gotten any better. The same things that Floyd Mayweather used to beat Canelo Alvarez is still Canelo Alvarez's flaws. He cannot fight a fighter that can move fluently. He cannot. He has to stand right in front of a fighter, and if a fighter is willing to trade with Canelo, Canelo looks great. Floyd changes his style for his opponent. I'm not a big fan of Floyd, but I got to give him the credit.
I give him that credit, too.
You can't, give me a break. It just makes me sick that there are so many unknowledgeable fans out there today in their 20s or 30s that don't know shit about this sport. And all you got to do is go back and watch it. They got the video on YouTube. Go and watch some of these old fights and see what the hell we're talking about. It's a joke, and it's very frustrating. And I'll tell you, to kick off this year, a couple of days into the new year with the same old bullshit. Dax and I have talked extensively about how hard it is to stay interested in this sport. All right, and this is the reason why. If this is the turn that the sport is going to take, and the article that we were talking about earlier in the week about a low impact new version of boxing where you only win on punches, where you're not allowed to hit in the head. I mean, if that's what this sport evolves to, who the fuck wants to watch it? Come on, man.
There you go.
It's a
What
joke.
did I say earlier? It's the safety police. As
might as well give.
Michael Savage used to say all the time.
Well, you might as well do like they do with the little kids. Give everybody a participation world championship belt, because that's what we're evolving to.
Well, exactly. You know what? We're getting soft, and the people, the element, and the society around us is getting the benchmark and lifting it up, because nobody wants to get step up to the benchmark. They have to make it easier to achieve the benchmark. And that's what society is becoming. And that's why we're becoming soft. And that's not right. No, keep the benchmark where it's always been, and let people step up and do what they have to do to make it.
I agree. It's very disheartening.
I'll give one boxing lesson for the day, and then
Go ahead.
go.
I want to hear it.
When you have a promoter with two fighters under the same banner, and that promoter makes a fight with one of those fighters against another fighter in his stable who is 2 divisions below, yet he has a fighter in that stable in the same weight class he could have made the fight, that is called a safe, gimme, easy showcase fight. When you have another promoter with 2 fighters, not in the same weight division, but one fighter has a contract and that promoter has a venue already rented and they have $4 million invested. One fighter who has already been able to go to a training camp and step into the ring decides, because his father said it's not worth it, they don't return the contract on time, he says to his fighter, who used to fight at 154 pounds, listen, I can guarantee you a big payday, I can guarantee you a shot to fight for another title while keeping the title that you already have. All you got to do is step inside that ring and give it a go. Are you willing? Sure I am, boss. The promoter makes that fight. The other guy says, I'm going to do it simply because there's a payday involved. We've got everything invested. We don't want to lose this date, and there's money to be made all around. But fighter B never once asked for that fight. He was offered to it. That's the difference. And the person that are talking in the chat room about how things work. Listen to my boxing lesson for the day. Listen to what Billy C says. Pay attention. Learn something. You might know something. Education doesn't come off Facebook. It doesn't come off a boxing forum. And it doesn't come off YouTube.
Exactly. And let me add one thing to it. You know, a couple of months ago, Angel Garcia really put it in the best perspective. He was bragging about getting multi-million-dollar fight for Danny Garcia and fighting a bum. They were actually bragging about it. They were bragging about the fact that they were able to make multi-million-dollar purse in fighting a real safe fight. To me, that's not challenging yourself. That's not showing that you're the best out there in your weight division. That's just fighting for the money. On one hand, you say, hey, more power to you for getting that kind of money, fighting a low-risk fight. But don't make it like that's what the sport's about. Because if that's what the sport's about, I don't want any part of it.
I have a magazine, and there's nothing better in boxing than two young, undefeated fighters on the rise, headed towards superstardom before either one has a chance to fall from grace. On the cover of that magazine, on the left side is Canelo, on the right side is Chavez Jr. Both guys were world champions, and everybody was excited about both. The fight never happened. The caption underneath their pictures is the time now? That was the time for that fight to take place. Now, not the time, because one has already fallen from grace, he's already lost, he's had drug problems, he's shown not to be dedicated to the sport. So you know something, that's just a prime example on how boxing manages to totally blow a window of opportunity that would benefit the sport.
Good point.
Yeah,
Very good point.
It's just, again, the burden, it happened in other sports, specifically with Sal's Giants. When in the history of the New York Giants, they were a quality team, championship-winning team, and then they went through a doldrum where they were fielding terrible teams, the Joe Pisarcek era and all of that stuff. And what the fans did was they would protest by burning their season tickets in front of Giants Stadium, and the end result was positive results. The Giants rebuild the organization. They brought in a guy named Bill Parcells. They drafted players like Lawrence Taylor, et cetera, and they never turned back. Now, I'm not a Giant fan, as everybody knows, but I give the organization credit for righting the wrong. Boxing needs to do the same thing. And whose burden is it? It's the fans' burden. Because everybody in today's world will, in business especially, will keep giving you whatever you're willing to pay for. It's just like cable TV. Now you got wars going on with different avenues to get television. All right? It becomes a price war. As long as you're willing to pay for something, you're going to keep getting it, whether it's a good quality or not. As soon as you stop paying for something, lo and behold, the quality goes up, and then you start writing checks again. Same thing in boxing. Until people start just saying, screw this, I'm not going to pay for that bullshit fight, we're going to keep getting it. And as long as these fans are supportive and actually stick up for this and make it racial, that's my biggest hang up. I take it very personal when someone refers to me as a racist because I don't like Floyd Mayweather. When people don't even take into consideration that all my favorite fighters, with the exception of Jack Dempsey, are black. I wrote a book about a freed slave. To this day, one of my main things is to try and get history rewritten the way it should be. Given this guy, my guy, Tom Molyneux, I call him my guy because I'm the only one that ever wrote a book about him, giving him the credit that he deserves. And that makes me a racist because I don't like Floyd Mayweather? That's such ridiculous statements. And all these young guys that pull the race card, they don't have any business pulling the race card because the world is not the way it used to be, 20. Well, you know what? The sad thing is, it is. It's become just as tension-filled as it was in the 60s. And it's terrible. It's terrible for life in this country. And I'm afraid to see what's going to happen over the next several years. Really. I mean, we're heading down a bad path. I'll tell you that right now.
You make a lot of good points, Bill. And one of the things that I love about boxing, from going way back to the amateurs and even to the pros, but when you step in that squared circle, there is no color issues. There's no ethnic background. There's no Hispanic, no Italian. You're a fighter, and may the best man win. And I have respect for every opponent that I ever stepped in a ring with, and any fighter that has. It doesn't matter your skin color, doesn't matter this. If a guy knows how to talk with his hands and can let that happen, God bless and respect him. And that's what I'm saying. We want the best. We want to see who is the best. We want to see who can rise to the occasion. It doesn't matter of their race, their color, their background. I want to see who the best fighters are.
I agree. And unfortunately, it's always the race is always thrown in. And who knows? Soon it's going to be religious beliefs. Everybody has a freedom. The beauty of this country is you have the freedom to believe what you want.
That's right.
if whether it's religion, whether it's ways of life, whatever. I'll tell you something. Just in conversation recently, I was talking about New Year's Eve, and somebody said to me, what you know how you people are, and he was referring to Italians. What Italians do, on holidays.
Yeah.
Sal. We stuff our faces and all of that.
Celebrate. We celebrate the Feast of Seven Fishes, Christmas Eve, this and that.
I didn't take that as a racial slur, but in a way, it was.
You could have.
I know.
It was derogatory.
When someone says, how you people are, right. I mean, you people is a racial comment. But I didn't take it as that person who said it to me, that's the way he intended it. No. I could have, but I didn't. So maybe some of those problems have to start with the people who are taking interpretation. Maybe people shouldn't be so sensitive. Maybe this political correctness movement that we started 20 years ago has backfired. Like we've talked about on this show many, many times. The success in this sport of boxing in the 50s and the 40s was made up about rivalries. The Italians against the Irish, the Jews against the Italians. That kind of rivalries. The north part of the city against the south part of the city. State against state. Those rivalries supported the sport. Today, you'll never find a promoter that would be willing to say, hey, tonight we're going to have the Jews against the Irish night. All the Jewish fighters are going to fight the Irish fighter. You'll never see that because they'll be afraid that they'll be criticized for not being politically correct. When it's not doing anything negative, in my opinion, it's just creating a rivalry in good competition. But today's world is so sensitive. Going back to what you're saying, Sal, about everybody being basically, Sal, what you're saying in a much better way than I'm gonna. Everybody's turned into a bunch of pansy asses. Right. And that's what's happened. And it's a shame. Every sport, not just boxing. They want to outlaw kickoffs in football. You're not even allowed to tackle a quarterback. Give me a break. The Pro Bowl now, they might as well play 10 Mississippi because you're not allowed to rush more than 3 guys. You're not allowed to do this. Come on. You're not allowed to flip your bat in baseball after you get a home run. Otherwise, you get criticized for that. Come on. It's a joke.
Feel good, police.
The difference between those rivalries back in the 30s, 40s, 50s that you spoke about is everybody then, there was a lot more of a surge in terms of immigrants, and everybody then appreciated one another's struggle because everybody knew exactly where either they or their family came from when, in terms of over in Europe, what they went through to get there. And, so it was just more of a, I'm here, we arrived, us Irish, us Italians, us Jews, whatever you want to say. We went through it, and this is what we're here, we're trying to do. Which one of us is going to prevail and do the best? There was also, while it was a very, huge rivalry, but you know what? There was that respect for each other because everybody already knew. You know what? Outside of here, we've all been through the same thing. So let's just come in here, let's see who the best Italian, who the best Irish, who the best Jew, who the best black man is. Let's just see who the best man is. That's the difference between then and today.
Yeah, but you know what, Dax? First of all, you make an excellent point. But the truth is these struggles still exist today. We still have people that migrate into this country or other countries, whether they're fleeing or whether they're moving on choice or whatever. So the struggles still exist. We're just too afraid to make it. Years ago, when people would come specifically to the United States, I know my grandparents were born in Italy. And when they came to the United States, they were proud to be Americans. They talked to my parents in English. They sent my parents to English schools. They wanted, you're an American, they would say to my parents. You're going to be an American. You live in America. They were proud to be that. Today, people will come over to this country and they want to bring all of their stuff with them and still enjoy the freedoms of the United States. They want to bring their religions, which is fine. They want to bring their language, which is fine. They want to bring their customs, which is fine. But don't force, the United States to conform to you. You can still have your own customs and beliefs and everything else. That's the beauty of this country. But when you want to work here, you want to live here, you got to be like the old saying, do as they do. You're in Rome, do as the Romans do. I'll never forget. I won't mention any names, but I'll never forget. I was just recently in France for a world title fight, and here we are in France. We're in a restaurant eating, and the fighter that I was with, he's trying to communicate. Now, we weren't in a tourist area, so nobody spoke English. So he gets all mad, and he goes, "What, doesn't anybody speak English here?" And I turned to him, and I said, "We're in France, man." I go, "That's why everybody doesn't like Americans. We're in France. You can't expect everybody to speak English when you're in France. Come on. It's the same thing. Everybody, we've become pansy asses, Sal. You're right.
But Bill, you are right on the right vein here, because you know what? You look at what built this country, what helped everybody become the melting pot. It was a melting pot. You had every ethnic group, whether you were white, black, Hispanic, European, on any levels. You came over, Asian, and you contributed early on. They wanted to assimilate and become Americans, and they brought over the best of their trade and what they were known for in their countries, and they contributed to the land of the free, the home of the brave, right here. And they became Americans, and they built this whole process of what this country was founded on, the dreams that these people had. But guess what? I remember my family talking about my grandparents and parents when they came over. It was a biggest thing when they got their citizenship. And they went through the challenge to do it, but they were proud to call themselves Americans, and that's what this country was based on and built on, by the Judeo-Christian values and beliefs and the hard work and sacrifices of what we've gone and grown into today, and that's why I love the history and the evolution and the freedoms that this country stands for, and that's what you said earlier. Today, unfortunately, everybody wants to come over to this great country, and they don't want to assimilate. They don't want to learn, or they don't want to become part of the American culture, if you will. They want to continue to force their beliefs, their country values, and everything else upon everybody else in this country. And it's just not right. Like you said perfectly, Bill, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Well, guess what? You come to this country, look at what we do as a culture, and respect it. Otherwise, you don't have to stay here and leave and go back home.
Where else in the world can you go into a city like New York City and go from neighborhood to neighborhood, and you'll see every single different ethnic group? You want to go to Little Italy, you feel like you're in Italy. You want to go to Chinatown, you feel like you're in China. I was reading one time about Joshua Klate. From Ghana, and he lives in a Ghana neighborhood. He says, the food here is just like back home. That is what makes the United States separate. We shouldn't, just because people like to flock to their own, so to speak. That's a good thing, because
it's a good thing. Keep the culture, keep your family's dreams alive.
But it should all be blanketed under American. If you're here, if you don't like it here, stay where you are. Come on.
Exactly.
But anyway, I don't know. We're definitely off. But
guess what? This is why, and I don't want to say anything to turn the mud in here, but this is why some people have so much popularity. And what do you think? A lot of people voted for put the president-elect Trump on the top of the ballots because you know what? They're tired of the political correctness. They're tired of all the right sayers who are doing this, doing that, and maybe they're just the as Paulie would say in Rocky, the unsilent majority.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. He's got his shot. Now he's got to, he's got to
answer.
Yeah, but he's got to put up or shut up now. So he's there, and now he can put up or shut up. And then, and nobody should criticize him until he's in there. He's not even in there yet. But anyway, hey, listen, let's wrap it up. On this day in boxing history, January 6th, in 2007, Travis Sims knocks out Jose Antonio Rivera in the 9th round to win the WBA junior middleweight title. It took place in Hollywood, Florida on this day in 2007. On this day in 1970, Johnny Famichan knocks out Fighting Harada in the 14th round to retain his WBC World Featherweight title. It took place in Tokyo, Japan. On this day in 1991, Virgil Hill wins a 12-round decision over Mike Peake to retain his WBA World Light Heavyweight title. Took place in Bismarck, North Dakota. On this day in 2007, Samuel Peter wins a 12-round decision over James Toney to retain his NABF Heavyweight title, and that took place in Hollywood, Florida. This fight was a WBC title eliminator, which earned Samuel Peter a world title shot against Jamal McCline, which he eventually won. On this day in 1947, Harold Dade won a 15-round decision over Manuel Ortiz to win the world bantamweight title. It took place in San Francisco, California. And finally, on this day, January 6th, in 1947, Jersey Joe Walcott wins a 10-round majority decision over Joey Maxim in their fight in Philadelphia. Walcott improves to 42 wins, 11 losses, and 2 draws, while Joey Maxim, his record goes to 46 wins, 13 losses, and a couple of draws. Hey, Dax, any final thoughts on this Friday?
On this Friday?
Yeah, today, as we close. You got
any
any final thoughts?
My week is going to kick off next week on the 14th. I'm very excited. It's under the radar, but I really think that Badu Jack and James DeGale are going to open up the year correctly, and a lot of people are going to be surprised exactly what type of fight that's going to be. It's going to deliver 100%. It has a great undercard. So that, in my opinion, Bill, Sal, is a positive direction for boxing. My prediction for that one, I got to go with my man Badu Jack.
Well, I tell you, not only do I agree that there's a lot of pressure on that fight to kick off the year the right way, we're going to be kicking off our post-fight series with that fight. And as promised, in 2017, we're going to be doing a lot of post-fight shows right after any major fight like Badu Jack against James DeGale next weekend. So we'll be talking about that all week. Sal, any final thoughts from you, my man?
I'll tell you what, I just want to wish everybody a great weekend, and let's get this boxing fight game off to a great start in the next couple of months. And I'll tell you, it's good. I wish I had more to say, but right now, I just want to sit back and enjoy and see what we have to discuss and what's going to be in the developmental stage for a fight game this year.
Well, make sure you tune in Monday. We'll have all the results of the AFC and NFC wildcard playoff weekend, as well as a breakdown and predictions for the BCS National Championship game, which will be taking place Monday night between my boys, the Alabama Crimson Tide, against the Clemson Tigers, which happens to be a rematch of last year's championship game. So I know I'm looking forward to a big weekend of football because there's no boxing to really look forward to. But I tell everyone this. Make sure you tune in Monday morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then,
Bill, I see one of your people the other day, one of your type people the other day.
What's that?
Walking around with your chest all boasted out, bragging as if you was something special. Guess what? I just spent $20 for 2018 Jets season tickets.
Yeah,
Big deal.
Well, yeah, he shouldn't. But you ruined my flow, Dax. So let me just make sure you guys tune in Monday morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.